Imagine two figures who mastered the art of public perception. One built his image on the streets of New York with Armani suits and media parades. The other constructed it on Twitter with memes and promises of colonizing Mars. John Gotti, Elon Musk, America's most famous mobster and the planet's most controversial CEO. Opposite worlds, different eras, but an identical strategy, selling a vision of themselves so powerful that reality ceased to matter. In the next few minutes, the mechanisms will be revealed of how these masters of perception manipulated the media, built personality cults, and turned their image into their most lethal weapon. Because in the end, in the game of power, perception always defeats facts. Section 2. Context. Co-evu-is-e-a-a. To understand how an unstoppable public image is built, the foundation must first be understood. John Gotti was born in 1940 in the Bronx, into a family of Italian immigrants mired in poverty. The streets of Queens became his university. At 12, he was already part of local gangs. At 20, he entered the structure of the Gambino crime family, one of the 5 mafia organizations that controlled New York. For decades, he operated in the shadows as traditional mafia code dictated: extortion, illegal gambling, union control. Keeping a low profile was the norm. But in 1985, something changed radically. Gotti ordered the assassination of Paul Castellano, the family boss, in broad daylight in front of a Manhattan restaurant. With that bold and public act, he crowned himself as the new godfather. And then he made a decision that broke all the rules of the underworld. He decided to be visible. While other capos hid, he displayed himself. The era of the invisible mobster ended with Gotti. The era of the celebrity mobster arrived. On the other side of the spectrum, Elon Musk was born in 1971 in Pretoria, South Africa. Complicated childhood, victim of severe bullying, taking refuge in science fiction books. At 17, he left South Africa to avoid mandatory military service and pursue the American dream. He studied in Canada and then in Pennsylvania. In the mid-90s, at the height of the internet boom, he co-founded Zip2, a software company that he sold for $307 million. Then came X.com, which merged with Confinity to create PayPal. When eBay bought PayPal for $1.5 billion, Musk pocketed $165 million. But money was never the final objective. In 2002, he founded SpaceX with the declared mission of making humanity a multiplanetary species. In 2004, he invested in Tesla and eventually took total control of the electric vehicle company. Here lies the fascinating parallel. Both reached the top at moments when their respective industries were changing radically. Gotti ascended when the mafia faced unprecedented legal pressure. The FBI was intensifying its surveillance methods. Criminal families were losing power. In that context of decline, he chose to shine brighter. Musk burst onto the scene when the technology industry was ceasing to be an exclusive Silicon Valley club. Social networks were democratizing communication. Tech entrepreneurs were becoming the new rock stars. In that context of digital transformation, he chose to become the protagonist. Both understood something fundamental. In their respective worlds, traditional power was no longer enough. They needed something more. They needed people to adore them, follow them, and believe in them almost religiously. Gotti needed public loyalty to shield himself legally. Musk needed fanatics to sustain stratospheric business valuations and maintain capital flow. But to achieve this, they first had to build something more valuable than a criminal or business empire. They had to build a myth, and that required an unprecedented public image strategy. Section 3. The construction of the ISI public image is not built by accident. It is designed, executed, and constantly reinforced. John Gotti turned his appearance into a political statement. Every time he entered a federal court, he paraded in custom-made Armani suits valued at $2,000. Italian silk ties, shoes shining like mirrors, impeccable hair styled with gel. The message was clear. Justice did not intimidate him. The power of the state did not break him. The media dubbed him the Dapper Don, the Elegant Don, and he embraced that nickname with pride. He knew that every photograph in newspapers reinforced his personal brand. While other mobsters avoided cameras, Gotti posed. He smiled, he waved. But the construction of his image went beyond aesthetics. Every 4th of July, he organized massive parties in his Ozone Park neighborhood. Fireworks, free food, music. Thousands of neighbors attended. For them, Gotti was not a criminal. He was the generous godfather who took care of the neighborhood. He was Robin Hood in an Italian suit. He meticulously controlled his narrative in traditional media. He granted calculated interviews. He leaked stories to friendly journalists. When tabloids attacked him, his response was to appear even more confident in public. He transformed every trial into a media spectacle where he was the star, not the victim. Elon Musk understood that in the digital age, media intermediation was obsolete. Why talk to journalists when he could communicate directly with millions? Twitter became his favorite weapon. Memes about his own companies, jokes about the competition, product announcements in 140 characters, provocations toward regulators. Every tweet generated headlines. Every controversy multiplied his reach. His appearance on Saturday Night Live in 2021 was watched by more than 7 million. He joked about his own controversial tweets. He laughed at himself. He revealed that he has Asperger's syndrome. The message, "I am human, I am authentic, I am different." On Joe Rogan's podcast, he smoked marijuana live. Tesla's stock fell. The media criticized him, but his followers defended him with religious fervor. For them, that act reinforced his image as a rebel genius who does not submit to corporate conventions. Every SpaceX launch is a live-streamed event. Rockets taking off and landing vertically. Cinematic images of spacecraft. Epic narration about humanity's future. He does not sell rockets. He sells the epic of conquering the stars. The Cybertruck presentation in 2019 was a planned disaster. The indestructible windows broke live. Networks exploded with memes. Tesla obtained 250,000 reservations in 1 week. The failure became free publicity. Both understood the same fundamental psychological truth: consistency in image generates credibility. Gotti was always the elegant and defiant godfather. He never showed fear. He never apologized. His public persona was impenetrable armor. Musk is always the eccentric visionary who works 120 hours per week. He sleeps at the factory. He responds to tweets at 3 in the morning. His public persona is the obsessive genius who sacrifices everything for the mission. Neither allowed reality to complicate the narrative. They selected what to show, what to hide, and how to frame it. They controlled the story before others could tell it. Because they understood something most people ignore. In the game of perception, whoever controls the narrative controls the outcome. Section 4. Selling the vision. Building an image is the first step. But true mastery lies in selling a vision so convincing that people defend it as their own. John Gotti did not sell organized crime. He sold protection, loyalty, and belonging. His central narrative was simple but powerful. I am one of you. I grew up on these streets. I understand your problems. And when the system abandons you, I am here. In the neighborhoods of Queens, that vision resonated. Institutions failed. The police were viewed with distrust. Politicians promised and never delivered. And then Gotti appeared, the neighborhood man who kept his word. If someone had a problem, he solved it. If a family needed money for a funeral, he paid. If a merchant suffered extortion from another gang, he intervened. Obviously, behind that public generosity was a system of control and extortion. But perception was stronger than facts. For thousands of people, Gotti was the protector, not the predator. And then came the trials. Between 1986 and 1990, he faced 3 federal proceedings. He was acquitted in all of them. The media called him the Teflon Don because no accusation stuck to him. Each acquittal reinforced his mythology. The narrative solidified. The government was persecuting him unjustly because he was Italian, because he was successful, because he did not kneel. Juries saw him in his impeccable suits, heard the neighborhood stories, and decided not to convict him. Gotti had turned the judicial system into his personal marketing stage. Every trial was an opportunity to demonstrate that he was untouchable. But that visibility had a cost. The FBI multiplied the resources devoted to capturing him. His own lieutenant, Salvatore Gravano, ended up betraying him. In 1992, he was sentenced to life in prison. He died in prison 10 years later. The vision he sold eventually consumed him. Elon Musk does not sell electric cars or reusable rockets. He sells the survival of the human species. His central narrative is epic. Earth is in danger. Climate change, resource depletion, possible extinction. But there is hope. We can become a multiplanetary civilization. We can save humanity. And I am going to achieve it, with or without support. Tesla is not presented as an automotive company. It is presented as the solution to climate collapse. Every Model 3 sold is an act of resistance against oil companies. Every Powerwall installed is a blow to the energy establishment. Customers do not buy products. They buy membership in a movement. SpaceX is not an aerospace company. It is the corporation that will make science fiction reality. Mars is no longer a distant dream. It is the inevitable destiny if Musk succeeds. Employees do not work for a salary. They work for a transcendental purpose. And when problems arise, Musk reframes them. He sleeps at the production plant during manufacturing crises. He publishes the photos. The message, I suffer with you, I sacrifice everything for the mission. Labor lawsuits become noise from people who do not understand the magnitude of what is at stake. When the SEC sues him for market manipulation, he responds with memes mocking the agency. His followers defend him fiercely. For them, regulators are obsolete bureaucrats trying to stop the genius. Both understood the fundamental psychology of selling a vision. It has to be bigger than the person. Gotti did not sell his personal success. He sold the dignity of the neighborhood. Musk does not sell his fortune. He sells the future of civilization. And when a vision is big enough, people forgive defects, ignore contradictions, and defend the messenger with irrational passion. Because in the end, defending that vision becomes defending a part of their own identity. Section 5. The consequences of the image. Every public image strategy has a price, and that price is collected sooner or later. For John Gotti, his own creation ended up being his death sentence. Every television appearance, every newspaper cover, every parade in designer suits was a direct insult to the FBI. While other mafia bosses operated in silence, he openly mocked the judicial system, and the system was not going to tolerate it indefinitely. The FBI made Gotti their #1 target. They allocated unprecedented resources. They installed microphones in his headquarters, the Bergen Hunt and Fish Social Club. They followed every movement. They pressured every associate. The federal agency staked its institutional reputation on capturing him. And they found his weak point, Salvatore Gravano, his right-hand man. The Bull, as they called him, the man who executed 19 murders on Gotti's orders. In 1991, facing life in prison, Gravano made a decision that destroyed the empire: testify against his boss. For 9 days, Gravano detailed decades of crimes, murders, extortions, corruption. The testimony was devastating, but the most devastating was the emotional betrayal. The man Gotti had trusted blindly was sending him to prison forever. In April of 1992, John Gotti was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. 13 criminal charges, 5 murders, conspiracy, extortion, obstruction of justice. He was sent to the maximum security federal prison in Marion, Illinois. Solitary confinement 23 hours a day. No contact with his organization. No access to the media he had loved so much. The Dapper Don spent his last years in a cell 2 meters by 3. He died of cancer in 2002, forgotten by the same press that had glorified him. His family was destroyed. His son, John Jr., faced multiple trials. The Gambino organization never recovered its power. The legacy he tried to build disintegrated within a decade. Elon Musk also pays the price of his constant exposure, but in a radically different context. Every tweet can move markets and unleash investigations. In 2018, he posted that he had secured funding to take Tesla private at $420 per share. It was false. The SEC sued him for fraud. The settlement cost $40 million and his position as chairman of Tesla. His public statements about the COVID-19 pandemic generated massive controversies. He minimized the threat. He defied closure orders. He reopened his plant in California in violation of local regulations. The criticism was fierce. The traditional media attacked him mercilessly. Labor lawsuits pile up. Accusations of racial discrimination at Tesla plants. Complaints about extreme working conditions. Reports of toxic corporate culture. Every scandal generates headlines and damages public perception. His acquisition of Twitter for $44 billion in 2022 was financially catastrophic. He fired thousands of employees. Advertisers fled. The platform's value collapsed. He lost tens of billions in personal wealth. But here is the crucial difference with Gotti. Musk operates within legal boundaries. His scandals are controversies, not crimes. His fines are costs of doing business, not judicial sentences. And his follower base defends him with each crisis, turning every attack into publicity. The lesson is clear. Public image can be a shield or a target. Gotti chose visibility in a world where invisibility was survival. His image made him famous, but it also turned him into an impossible-to-ignore target. Musk chose exposure in an era where attention is currency. His image generates constant controversies, but also maintains his relevance and business valuation. One died in prison. The other navigates scandals but remains at the top. Context defines destiny. Section 6. The Strategic Lessons. Beyond moral judgments, these two cases reveal strategic principles about public image construction that apply to any context. First lesson: narrative consistency generates perceived credibility. Gotti never broke character. He was always the elegant, confident, defiant godfather. Even when evidence piled up, he maintained the same posture. His body language, his clothing, his attitude never betrayed insecurity. That absolute coherence made people believe in his version of reality. Musk applies the same principle. He is consistently the obsessive visionary who works tirelessly. He posts tweets at 4 in the morning. He talks about colonizing Mars with the same conviction that others discuss the weather. That constant repetition of the same message eventually makes it accepted as truth. Second lesson: controlling the communication channel is controlling the narrative. Gotti used the traditional media of his era masterfully. He chose which journalists received access. He leaked favorable stories. He turned every court appearance into a media event where he was the protagonist. He did not let others define who he was. Musk took this to the next level by eliminating intermediaries. Twitter gave him direct access to 150 million people. No editors. No journalistic filters. No waiting for the media to decide what was news. He creates the news every time he presses publish. That is narrative power in its purest form. Third lesson: loyal communities are shields against external attacks. Gotti cultivated loyalty in his neighborhood by being visible, generous, and accessible. When the feds attacked him, thousands of neighbors defended him. They appeared at trials with support signs. They spoke to journalists about his generosity. That community functioned as a social shield for years. Musk built a fan base that defends him fiercely on social networks. When the SEC sues, they attack the SEC. When journalists criticize him, they attack the journalists. When analysts question the valuations of his companies, they accuse them of working for the competition. That community turns every attack into an opportunity to reaffirm loyalty. Fourth lesson: the perception of authenticity is more valuable than actual authenticity. Gotti projected being a man of the people who remained true to his roots. The reality was that he was a violent criminal who ordered murders. But public perception was stronger than facts. People saw what they wanted to see. Musk projects being a genius engineer who personally designs rockets. The reality is more complex. He leads companies with thousands of talented engineers. But the perception that he is personally revolutionizing industries is what matters. His followers defend that narrative against any contrary evidence. Fifth lesson: ethical context determines, and here is the fundamental difference that cannot be ignored. Gotti built his empire on violence, extortion, and crime. His public image was an illusion that concealed real harm. Eventually, the system destroyed him because his foundation was illegal. Musk builds companies that, regardless of controversies, operate within legal frameworks. Tesla manufactures real electric vehicles. SpaceX launches real rockets into space. The substance behind the image exists, even if wrapped in exaggeration and marketing. The critical lesson for any public image strategy is this: perception without substance eventually collapses. Gotti sold a total illusion. It worked temporarily. It ended in catastrophe. Musk sells an exaggerated vision with real foundation. It generates constant controversies. But it survives because there is verifiable value behind the marketing. The power of public image is undeniable. But without a solid and ethical base, that power is a house of cards waiting for the wrong wind. Section 7. Closing. John Gotti and Elon Musk. The mobster and the magnate. Two absolute masters of public perception. Both understood that in their respective worlds, tangible results were not enough. They needed something more powerful: adoration, blind loyalty, a narrative so convincing that it transcended facts. Gotti sold the image of the neighborhood protector. Musk sells the vision of humanity's savior. One used Armani suits in street parties. The other uses memes and vertically landing rockets. The tools changed. The psychological strategy is identical, but there is one difference that defines everything: the foundation upon which they built their empires. Gotti built on crime, violence, and lies. His image was pure facade concealing destruction. The system eventually crushed him. He died alone in a cell. His legacy is a warning. Musk builds on real innovation, though wrapped in controversy and exaggeration. His companies produce verifiable value. His image survives because there is substance behind the show. His legacy is yet to be written. The great lesson is universal. Public image is the most powerful weapon of the 21st century. It can open doors, generate opportunities, build empires. But without integrity and real value behind it, it is just a ticking time bomb. The question is not whether a strong public image should be built. In the digital age, it is inevitable. The question is, what type of image to build? One that hides reality, or one that amplifies genuine value? Because in the end, perception can take someone to the top. But only substance maintains the position. If this analysis has offered a valuable perspective on the power of public image, subscribing to the channel supports the creation of more content like this. This space breaks down the strategies of history's most controversial figures to extract lessons applicable to the real world. The comments are open for debate. Will Musk end up as a visionary remembered by history, or will he eventually pay the same price as Gotti for his constant exposure? Leaving a like helps this analysis reach more people interested in business strategy and public perception. Until the next episode.